Come on. Let's get it. Aswand, Cruickshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork you will not get anywhere else. Probably did a little more 4 miler today, which was about 2 more miles than I was supposed to, seeing that I just had a 15 mile day yesterday. I'm supposed to be giving my legs some rest, but this 𝐇𝐎𝐒 Hill situation has my motherfucking fire lit. So many things, so many triggers are coming up. So I'm guaranteed to get fairly long-winded on today's Move Swiftly thought. All right. So recording this, slow down. Recording this the Wednesday after it's the week of actually it's the day September 11, 2024, week of the most recent news, current event. Star wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, was recently in a situation this past Sunday before the game where he got arrested, he got detained by the cops after getting pulled over for speeding right before the game, right before the opening week of the game. And, it came out, initially there was no body cam, but initially the body cam or the body cam footage wasn't released to the public, but I believe it was either Monday that it officially came out, and we got to hear the entire audio and everything that went down, which is why initially I was never actually going to comment on it until we heard everything, until if there was a situation in which the body cam became available for the public so I can see the whole ordeal. Because you're speaking to, when you're just listening to someone who's lived it. I've lived it. I actually lived through a situation where it was 2 white people, 2 white teachers. These were not police officers. They had absolutely no authority, no reason to be putting their hands on me. And at the time I was a sophomore in high school, 15-year-old black man. Like I said, sophomore in high school, being dragged up steps, face slammed against the wall, being thrown into the principal's office by 2 white people. So I've lived it. And because I've lived it, I watched that video. I watched the entire video, and it is a huge trigger for me. And the first thing that I have to get off my chest in terms of the way the whole thing is playing out is how irresponsible the national media continues to disappoint me every motherfucking day, to know how irresponsible they are by continuing to play it, not realizing how much of a trigger it's actually hitting for the people that actually lived through it. Yeah, everyone could give their fucking comments on it. They can give their opinions on it. They can play the race card. The race hustlers can come out when they see the shit. But when you've actually lived it and you've seen it, it is actually a trigger, and it's not something that is healthy for you to continuously to play it. And being that you're not someone that actually lived through it, you don't have the luxury of pushing your own fucking agenda, which is what's the most disappointing of the whole thing, is the mainstream media pushing their own agenda. Everyone all about, you see, it's still difficult for a black man to do this, when you've never actually fucking lived it. I did. Got it? So that's number one. That's the number one thing that firstly disappoints me. All right. So when I went through the situation that I went through, right, one of the things that, as I look back on it now, 20 years later, the two people that I really had in my corner was my mother, strong Caribbean black woman, and Coach Malloy, who was the head coach at the time, head coach of the program, and retired with the most wins in Maryland football, in the history of any high school football coach in Maryland. And they cared more so about what I was going through. They cared more so about how I was doing when I was going through the situation. And just to kind of give you a recap of what the situation was with me, I'm a 15-year-old kid, very shy, reserved young man, and I get told to stand outside in the cold. And I obviously, this is why it's such a trigger for me, because when I watch the video, I understand exactly how Tyreek Hill is feeling in this situation. There's incredible agitation. You don't feel like doing it. And he's on his way to a game, just like for me. I'm actually waiting in the school by myself, not making any noise, not causing a ruckus, anything like that. In his situation, he was doing a little more than that, but at the end of the day, he's right by his place of employment. He's right next to, he's about to go, play a game, do what he has to do his job. He doesn't feel like being bothered. So yes, I understand, I get it. You have an agitated response to authority, right? So what happened with me is I was told to go wait outside. I was told to go wait outside. This is in Maryland. This is like in the middle of the winter. I got told to wait outside, and I have obviously an agitated response. And before I know it, I'm being dragged up steps, slammed against the wall, and being thrown into the principal's office. When you compare that, not to compare and contrast situations, but I'm just giving you the context so you know, I know how it feels to be in a situation where you don't feel like dealing with people who just are on a fucking power trip right now, which is kind of what the cops were on. But let's be honest. Let's be honest. If we're going to point out the wrongdoing of the cop, all right, we have to point out what Tyreek Hill did in the situation that led to it and how he made it so that he was not 100% honest in the situation when he spoke about it after the game. All right, what he said after the game was, look, I don't know why I was arrested. I don't know what I did wrong. I just, try to get to, like, he played the victim mentality, he played the victim role. And that, my friend, is what we're not. That is where I'm steering you away. Being a victim in this situation, or playing the victim role in this situation, gets you fucking nowhere. I'm telling you from experience, it gets you nowhere. It just gets the sympathy, the people who have their own agendas, as we're seeing on TV, that have their own agendas, the people who actually have the audacity to comment on a situation before the actual body cam came out. These are people who have their own fucking agendas because they don't know the full story, and they're just saying, okay, I see the clip, see a black guy getting manhandled by the police. I'm going to comment on that clip because it's going to help my ratings and it's going to help boost me as a race hustler. I get to, get little claps, get little clap emojis and, right on, pretend that I'm for black people. I'm really looking out for us black people. That's the people who commented before the actual body cam footage came out, right? And said things when they didn't know because it wasn't released. Now, what actually happened, what we heard when Tyreek Hill got pulled over, and I've been watching a lot of Brandon Tatum stuff, who's a former police officer, and he played the whole thing. See, what ESPN didn't do, what ESPN and CNN, right? What they didn't do was they didn't play the whole thing. They didn't play it from start to finish, understanding that if you watch that area, and I've worked a ton of games at Hard Rock Stadium, I moved out to South Florida to work for the Miami Dolphins, so I understand what the amount of things that are going on game days, how set up it is. I mean, it's a lot going on game days. If you've ever been to an NFL game, you can imagine, look, the county, the cops, a lot of them are very much on high alert. There's just a lot of things that you have to be looking out for. It's a Sunday. They don't really feel like being there, right? Just understand that, right? Doesn't give them an excuse for manhandling Tyreek or Hill. Doesn't give them an excuse for doing what they did, but just understand that, right? So here's what happened. Let's lay out all the facts. Tyreek Hill is speeding. You see the car speeding. He's absolutely going incredibly too fast. And you hear the police officer saying, hey, you were speeding. He knocks on you, says you're speeding. And he pulls over and he doesn't bang on his window. He simply knocks on his window. Tyreek Hill's initial response, we got to go right there because that's the first impression. He goes, don't bang on my door like that, man. All right, but don't bang on my door like that. Come on, man. Come on. All right, come on. If we're going to point out how wrong the cop was for manhandling him the way he did, you got to make sure you point out both those wrongdoings. All Tyreek Hill simply has to do is like, hey, look, officer, my apologies, or, be fake then. If you just be incredibly polite or be cordial as possible. Hey, police officer, my apologies. I have a game going on. I'm just trying to get to the stadium right here. I play for the team. You don't even have to, one of the players on the team, all that kind of stuff. Instead, you go to a press conference, you say you don't know why you did. Then you have a whole day to think about it. You go on CNN and you still don't own up to the fact where it's like, hey, maybe I could have helped the situation and maybe could have said this. And people see you speed. You were speeding. All right. Own up to the situation. And then, as you say, you want to do something positive for the community. You want to do something positive with police officers. That's where it starts. It starts right there where you're able to own up to the fact that, hey, you're right. I could have initially handled that first officer better, and I could have, maybe did that. I maybe the situation wouldn't have escalated the way it escalated if I would have just spoken to the police officer in a cordial way. Now, this second police officer, that guy is simply, he's full, first of all, he's full of shit. I'm not condoning what he did. I thought what he did was incredibly unnecessary. You don't need to grab the guy and kneel on his back and all that shit. All that shit was completely unnecessary. I'm not condoning that at all. That was bullshit, all right? At the end of the day, the two wrongs need to be pointed out, and that's the main point. That's what I need to make sure I explain to you guys, because what happens with the national media is they push you into this victim mentality because it serves their own agenda. It serves their own ego. It serves their own pockets. It makes them look like they're always looking out. It gets them little sponsorship deals. It gets them appearances on shows. It gets them a bunch of little deals because they're able to pretend like they're looking out. I've been a victim of actual brutality, and I'm telling you, the two people, that was it. It was two people that looked out, that didn't have an agenda, that had an opinion, that didn't have their own agenda. It was my mother, and it was the head football coach of the program that knew me when I was 7th grader, didn't want to see me leave the school, didn't want to see me leave the program, and the same mother who worked her ass off to send me to the school and wasn't ready to just take me out of the school because of a situation. She wanted to use this. She wanted this situation to be one of the reasons that I'm able to make a name for myself at that program, at that school, which is what I did. That's the mentality you have to take whenever there's a situation like this. Even if it happens to be where you are a victim and you were done wrong, because again, Tyreek Hill was done wrong. It was wrong for the police officer to do that, as I was. The situation is not to run around as the victim, but more so the person that says, okay, I took it, hey, and I'm still saying I'm going to get better, I'm going to get stronger and do exactly, I wouldn't say do exactly what he did, because none of you listening to me are actually as good as Tyreek Hill is on the playing field. You can't just, catch 80-yard bombs and, do a thing like that. But whatever your skill is, whatever you're great at, go out and do that great thing and continuously serve the world using your platform, which is one of the things I did actually agree with Tyreek Hill when he said you want to use the platform to do something positive. But doing that requires you to own up to the fact that, hey, I probably didn't need to be that aggressive or uncooperative when it came to me keeping my window down. I'll own up to it. I was wrong when I did that, but it doesn't warrant me getting, thrown on the floor, face slammed against the floor, having a knee in my back and being thrown on the curb and all that. But you got to own up to what you didn't do the right way. And it's clear. The body cam is clear that you went at it and you were not compliant at all with a police officer. And that's not something that that's not something that anybody needs to do, regardless of your skin color, regardless of where you come from. Whenever a police officer pulls you over, you don't react and tell a police officer not to bang on your window. That's not what you do. That is not okay. Straight up, just be 100% honest with you. If he owns that, I have no issues with anything else in terms of what I obviously have an issue with the fact that he was manhandled and all that, but I don't have issues in terms of any way that he may have reacted to it, or if he may feel some type of way, as long as he owns up to the fact that he could have initially handled the situation better when that first officer came and spoke to him. All right, so those are my thoughts. Like I said, I usually like to keep these under about 5 to maybe 8 minutes ish time, but I knew I was going to get long-winded on this because it's a lot of triggers for me, and I had to go back into that place and relive the situation. And it's still, to this day, it's a very tough situation to live through, because I am not Tyreek Hill. I'm not a famous athlete, NFL player and all that. And to know I went through that, and these people still have their, in fact, I just went to a good counsel game out here in South Florida a couple of weeks ago. These same trainers work there, guys. They still work there. They still work there. And I was the one giving the speech to the students. And I saw everything that my mother and Coach Malloy did for me in that moment when I'm giving that talk, when I'm giving a motivational speech to this group of high school kids, knowing how thankful I was that my mother and my coach never let me leave the school, never let me quit over that. So now 20 years later, I'm able to give that same advice. I'm able to create the platform where I can teach young black boys not to walk around like a victim, but to walk around like a victor. Even though there may be cards and there may be things stacked against you, there are opportunities if you hold your head up high and you don't let the arrogant people out there. You don't let those arrogant people out there get the best of you. Never let that happen. Never let a person get the best of you that you know they don't deserve it. Keep moving in your truth, keep getting better, keep fighting the good fight and doing it in your way. But do not walk around looking for sympathy from people and looking for all the race baiters out there who are pushing their own agenda. That's where a lot of us get tripped up, all right? All that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. Aswand, Cruickshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.